Okay, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Flying Monk talk show. And today we have a guest from Hong Kong. His name is Tin Gim. And he is the author of the book that we've published. So far, it's an ebook, a PDF format ebook. That's the songs of Ma Gui Baguazhang. So it's a very rare lineage of Bagua. Those of you who practice Bagua Chen or Baguazhang, you may know that Ma Gui was the top disciple of Yin Fu, who in turn was a top disciple of Dong Haitran. But Ma Gui also lived with Dong Haitran, with the founder, for several years. Towards the end of Dong Haitran's life, he looked after Dong Haitran, the founder of the Bagua system. So welcome, Tin Gim. Thanks a lot for joining us from Hong Kong today.
Yeah. Thanks very much, Alec. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few big topics to discuss today, and one of them is, why are the songs important? Why did you write this book? You could have written about many different technical subjects, but you chose to write a translation of the songs. There are many of these ancient songs. Some people say they're directly from Dong Haitran, and some people from one of his disciples. But I'm sure you will explain that. But why did you choose this topic? Why is it so important? And how do we use the songs as practitioners of Bagua Chen?
Because I simply feel principle is more important than techniques, right? There are hundreds of Baguazhang techniques. If I want to write them all down, I can write like 50 books at least. But what's the point of describing all those techniques without knowing the underlying principle behind it, the fundamental philosophy of Baguazhang? Without the essence or the spirit of Baguazhang, I feel all these techniques are rather meaningless movements. And that's why I choose to focus more on the principle and the basic exercise instead of the techniques. And of course, the other issue is we don't have many techniques in Ma Gui Pai anyway. I've counted how many techniques. There are 21 in total. So if I only want to focus on the techniques, I only need about 50 pages to describe them all. And again, I don't feel that's very constructive. Yes, those are very simple movements, and most of them are just simple hand strikes, which you can see in many different martial arts, many other martial arts. And in fact, only the bear and the crab forms are the real invention of Ma Gui. The other forms, including the dragon form and the yin yang fish, the pointing to heaven and earth, the lion, and the single hook form, they are all techniques either passed down by Yin Fu or Yin Fu's son. They aren't exactly Ma Gui's invention. So what's really important about so I only write what I feel really matters in Ma Gui's school. That is what's going on inside our body, how we use our body, how different body parts are synchronized, and how power is initiated, and how to deliver the correct technical power instead of describing just simple body movements.
although you say there's just these limited number of techniques, the combinations are countless, right? It's not that it may be simplistic in the number of techniques you train, but the permutations are unlimited. Is that correct?
You may say so. We can think of these very limited number of movements as the prototype or as a basic element, which can further elaborate, or they can combine to form new techniques. But we feel these are the important basic elements of Baguazhang of Baguazhang in general. And we feel these only practicing these basic elements is rather enough. So yeah, you may say they can reconstitute and form new techniques. But of course, the other issue is in fighting. Of course, we all know the ideal situation is you take down your opponents with one simple, powerful move, decisive, no other strings attached. And then you want to move on and deal with other possible situations, or simply walk away. That is the ideal scenario. So we feel it's not ideal to have very complicated techniques. We don't even have many combinations. Like say in boxing, the boxers do say jab punch and jab punch, and then add a lift punch. But we don't really have that in Baguazhang. It's really one or two decisive movements, and that's it. And we aim to maximize these decisive movements. We aim to maximize the effect of these decisive movements. Because after you strike down one opponent, someone else might crawl up to your back, and you need to turn around and deal with the other guy. So that's why we only want to focus on basic movements, basic techniques that's effective and powerful.
I see. So how did you learn these songs, or how would it traditionally be taught? Would you be taught like the first line or few lines, and then it's revealed what it really means? Because some of them are quite obscure, right? Some are very clear, some are more vague. But would the teacher get you to ponder upon these verses and try to discover them in your own practice, or just over time you practice and then you look at the verses and you suddenly understand them? Which way did you learn them?
These poems all these songs are written in the form of poem, so we just call it a poem. It's written down and handed to Mr. To and my sifu, but the classmates, and these are important guidelines. Let's say important guidelines on how to practice Baguazhang correctly. And I have to admit that some, like you said, some of the sentences are rather obscure, and because it's maybe it's written in Beijingese, like the language they speak in Beijing, which as a Hong Konger I find it difficult to understand. Some of it might be slangs in Beijing, which none of us in Hong Kong will really understand.
Yeah.
And some of it is simply not Ma Gui school's practice. It might be some other school's practice. Like I remember they somehow describe the way to walk to perform the circle walking is to get both knees to stick together. You see what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like both knees to rub against each other.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I mean? It's like this.
Yeah.
Yes, which is not exactly Ma Gui school's practice, but like I wrote in the book, I think we can agree to disagree as long as the fundamental concept concurs to Ma Gui school's philosophy. And so how am I taught these poems? In fact, Sifu Chen hardly talks about it during training. How Sifu Chen teaches is he's not a very talkative person, but he is very strict and in his teaching. He will stand there, watch me practice and correct my movements, and occasionally he will give 1 or 2 sentences of advice. I'm pretty sure he can't memorize most of these poems, so sometimes he will quote 1 or 2 sentences from these poems. But generally, these poems are written down and passed down to them. So that's how I know this.
Let's explain for the viewers, what is the purpose? We know that Bagua is very famous for circle walking. Why do you circle walk?
I think we can talk about this. We can discuss this question in two aspects. What's the purpose of circle walking? We all know circle walking is a very important power training, but what does it actually teach you? In my book, I feel is developing the nerve system, which links the backbone to the limbs and the neck. So Baguazhang is really a set of exercise that develops nerve system, that is capable to build new nerve connections to muscles that was previously inert, because we hardly use those muscles. And of course, at a higher level, it also builds nerve connections to organs and to very deep muscle tissues. That's why at the high level, we can see the practitioner of Baguazhang should gradually transform after years of training. We can generally tell if a practitioner has a strong backbone and back muscle that resembles what we call the back of a bear. It's very thick. It's very muscular. Sorry, the back of a tiger. If we look at the back of a tiger, it's very muscular. But it's also agile. That is the sort of muscle tone we are aiming to build. And also we can tell the core of an experienced practitioner should be strong and thick. In our term, is called the core of a bear. So if we look at a bear, we can tell the core is very strong. And I think pigs also have a very strong core as well. I think this, in my book, is probably a better is probably a bad example because we all get to eat rib cage all the time, right? When we eat rib cage, we can tell there's lots of muscles between those bones. And as humans, because we walk with both legs, we are bipedal species. We don't normally have lots of muscles in those areas because we hardly need to use our core nowadays because we are walking and running with only two legs. But pigs are different. They need to use the core a lot to move around. So they have all these very strong muscle around the ribcage and the core, and these are exactly the kind of muscle we need to develop in Baguazhang. To a certain extent, we are really trying to regain our animalistic nature, because that's what animals are like. That's also what our ancestors were like before they evolved into a bipedal species.
It's funny you mention this because I've been watching the family's house cat recently. Actually, yes. He's really an outdoor cat, but he just wanders into the house when he feels like to get some food. But I've been watching him like he hunts in the garden, or he'll just sit extremely still for ages, and suddenly, whoom, he's gone like a cat. You know how they're like mini tigers, right? But incredible. It always strikes me when I see him and I see the squirrels and the horses and so on, that you hardly ever see a human being can move with such efficiency or such whole body centered power. You know, now and again you will see specimens of humans who are exceptional, but it seems like we've had that animalistic core tamed out of us through hundreds of years of whatever civilized behavior and so on. But what you just said is, I think it's extremely important that we are trying to recover some of that animal-like power and strength.
Yes, or the ability to suddenly launch strongly is because they initiate the movement with the core. I'm not saying the power comes from the core, but the movement is initiated in the core, and the animal's body are very synchronized. They're very aligned. The limbs don't move individually, and so they can really turn all that potential power into kinetic energy within a very short time frame. Like they can suddenly burst into power because they initiate the movement with the core. They're only moving the core first. But for human beings, if we feel our daily movements carefully, we can tell we are using a lot of limbs. We're just using individual parts of our body. That's how we behave. That's how we move. So of course we can't suddenly burst into actions like those animals.
Yeah.
Our special way of circle walking is called the toad step, and I'll talk a bit later. But let's think of how toads move. How toads move. I've kept many toads before because I really like keeping amphibians. It's my hobby. And if you look at toads, they have very strong core, and they just sit there all day long. And it seems like they're not doing much, but they're really ambush hunters. If you put a mice or a cockroach in front of them, they could suddenly leap forward very quickly with exceptional power and suddenly swallow the and swallow the entire mice, which is about the size of the whole body.
Wow.
I got bitten by toads a few times. It's very powerful. It's very painful. You don't want to get bit by that.
That's a very challenging hobby, I think.
There's also the excitement, I tell you. Oops, a little Buddha is falling here. Person fall, Buddha. Anyway, yes. So our toad step ultimately actually is actually teaching us to deliver power that way. And if you look at how toads deliver power, they don't just push with their back leg. They suck in, they draw in their core first. Like I said, they initiate all their movements from the core. And they draw in the core so forcefully that when they swallow a prey, you can tell they even suck in their eyes into the skull. That is the kind of sucking the toads are capable of doing.
Incredible.
Yeah.
How long does a toad live for generally?
In captivity, if you keep it properly, it can last. The longest one I've kept is about 5 years.
Wow. I was just thinking that if a human being sucked his eyes in like that regularly, it wouldn't last very long. So they have exceptional. Their body must be specially designed like that.
Oh, believe it or not, we can also do that as human beings. We've just lost this ability. In fact, in Neigong practice, sorry, I'm digressing a little now. In Taoism Neigong practice, they specifically mention that at a higher level, you also need to suck in your eyes.
Wow. You mean literally suck your eyeballs in?
Not like literally, but you need to feel it. You need to feel the eye, even the eyeball is sucking in. But it's a very complicated thing. And
yeah. And
so you hardly see any Neigong experts has eyesight problems because they can even control the eyeball. They can control the relaxation and the tensing of retina. It should go as deep as that. If animals can do it, then that means we are evolved from amphibians and reptiles. So it means at some point in a very distant past, human beings were also capable of doing it. We just gradually lose this ability. And all internal martial arts and internal exercise are designed to train us to regain this ability we've lost.
Yeah. So, for example, the sucking in and expansion of the limbs through the shoulder and hip joints, for example, that's another similar thing, maybe less extreme than the eyeballs, but you control those kind of abilities as well, right? The joints contracting, expanding.
I would say that's the fundamental of the whole toe step, a special way of circle walking, and I've already described how to perform the toe step in the book, so I probably don't need to repeat it here. But like I said, the philosophy and the principle is more important than the movements. And I would say for the toe step, what's really important is the dantian is the core that's initiating the toe step, not vice versa. We don't get dantian by performing the toe step. We get toe step by setting up the dantian properly. What I mean is, as we draw in our core into our kidney, and we sink downwards simultaneously on one hip, what we are doing is we are bringing, first of all, we are bringing the core towards the lower back, and then we are drawing in both sides of the waist. So our core should become more rounded than its natural state, than its original shape. Because, like I said, as a bipedal species, human beings' core tend to naturally tilt backwards, right? Because we need to walk upright, and we need to use our hands. So we don't really need to engage our core. So by drawing in the core backward and downward, we are changing the shape of the core. That's why I said if you keep practicing the toe step correctly, your body shape will gradually change. Your core will get thicker and stronger, like a pig. And as we do this, we are also expanding our lower back. We are creating pressure in our core. Like I wrote in the book, this pressure involves hydraulic pressure and air pressure. I'll come back to this point later, these 2 points later. But as we do this, our stance will tend to widen because we are expanding our back sideways. So and then as we practice the circle walking, we all know this is common practice among all Baguazhang school. That our hips and our toes should not raise, like it should not walk like this, because it just destroys everything. And we should keep our both feet steady, stable, and lift it, and then gently put it down. Lift it, kick forward, pause, and gently put it down. So as we do all these, we start to walk like toads. And that's why I said it's actually the toe step is caused by setting up the dantian correctly, not the other way.
I see.
Because we do not want to squeeze the core with our leg movements, but the opposite. But quite the opposite. We want to initiate our lower body movements by drawing in the core to the lower back and downwards.
I see. And what is the relationship between Bagua and Xingyi in your practice and generally?
My Xingyi comes from Master Han Xingyun, and another author of your company, Sifu James Cass. He's my classmate, and we practice together. And he has a very detailed description of Master Han's Xingyi already. But what I think is the connection between Xingyi and Bagua is really on the, from my experience, is really on the Hao Quan and the Heng Quan. Because if you think about it carefully, the Bang Quan, Zhuang Quan, and the Bang Quan, they should be performed in Santi, right?
Mm-hmm.
Of course, these three fists are practiced in 3 different ways of using Santi. But the principle of Santi should always be adhered to in these 3 fists. The Pao Quan and Heng Quan is different. It's generating power diagonally across the body. And there's also more obvious torque power in these 2 fists. And Santi is simply not designed to generate power this way. And I've asked Sifu Chan about this, and he said, in the old days, there were only Pi Quan, Zhuan Quan, and Bang Quan. The Pao Quan and the Heng Quan was later invented, and I suspect it happened. It was invented after the Xingyi people started to cross-train with the Bagua people. That's of course that's only my personal suspicion. I don't have any evidence to support it. It's just a theory of mine. It's just a hypothesis. And so of course there are other important technical details which I think both schools shares, like going to be single weighted and one body possess 5 balls, blah blah blah. But these are general principles among all 3 internal martial arts. And but in my book, where I feel Xingyi and Bagua really interlapse. Am I using the right word here?
Intersect, you mean?
Intersect. Yes. There's no such word as interlap, right?
No, I don't think so.
Sorry about that.
Intersect. Yeah, intersect.
Intersect. Yes. Overlap. Overlap. I was like,
interlap. Overlap. Yes.
Sorry, I only got a C in my GCSE English, so.
Overlap or intersect. I think they're quite similar in a way. Yeah.
Yes, and it's in the Pao Quan and the Heng Quan.
Mm.
And of course, it's very difficult to describe just by words. I need to actually demonstrate, and it's going to take so many years of practice to be able to just start to feel it.
That's very interesting. My first Bagua teacher, Sun style Bagua.
Yes.
He said that Heng Quan is the gateway to Bagua. I don't know whether that's Sun Lutang's thinking or not, but he said the Heng Quan is the gateway to Bagua, the specific force. Because I think he was referring to the twisting into the set, off of the direction of the pelvis, isn't it? Off of that direction and twisting into to one side or another.
Yes.
But the only thing that I've heard people say this about Pao Quan and Heng Quan before, that they were probably a creation of interaction with Bagua practitioners. But the only thing that I disagree with that is that, as far as we know, Xingyi Quan comes from spear, and the spear,
yes.
Lan Na Jia, Lan Na Jia is the basic spear movement. So Lan Na Jia, in a broader sense, is like Hang, Pi, Bang, right? So you've already got the Hang type of movement. And
yes.
That would have been the proto Xingyi. So that suggests that perhaps Heng Quan is actually the oldest. And I've heard other people say the 3 fists, the 3 old fists of Xingyi are
yes.
Hang, Bang, and Pi.
Really?
So yeah, I mean, I've heard all kind of theories, but I think the spear is indicative that it's perhaps quite old, Heng Quan. I don't know about Pao Quan. Yeah.
there are spear techniques that that can correspond to Pao Quan and Hang Quan in my system. But I must also say that I don't know about your teacher. I don't know if he's practiced Bagua or not, and I don't know even if he has which style of Bagua he practiced. But for Mr. Han, he practiced Xingyi Bagua from Mr. Zhang Jimfui, we call it in Hong Kong.
Zhang Xiaodong.
Are they the same person?
Was he Tianjin, the famous Tianjin bounty hunter? This one.
Yes. But never mind. Just the founder of Xingyi Bagua, and and he also learned his. He really got his Xingyi from another Xingyi guy called Wang Jinhang, which I don't really know how to pronounce it in Mandarin, but Wang Jianhang or something. And so he might have his own interpretation, and in Pao Quan and Hang Quan, and he might mix in some Baguazhang concept in Xingyi as well. That I really can't tell because I haven't met him in person. Unfortunately, he died a very long while ago. And but Sifu Chen told me that when we practice the Hang Quan, we need to have the wrapping power. He stopped there. He didn't really explain what is wrapping power. And then some time ago, after I practiced Baguazhang, and I suddenly start to feel the way Hang Quan and Pao Quan generate power is very similar to the single palm change. And then so the next time I went back to Sifu Chen, I asked, am I doing it correctly? I was performing these two fists with the single palm changes steps. And he said, yes, that's correct. I said, is that the wrapping power you mentioned? He said, yes, you finally got it.
Good.
Yes. So, of course, that's just.
I think this is what my teacher was talking about. Yeah.
Yes, and then of course we know the problem with all these Chinese martial artists. There's never any proper documentation of the history or anything. So everything is just passed down to us by our teacher. It's just mouth to mouth. And in the old time, in fact, many martial artists were illiterate. They're not capable of writing down anything. So so it's really difficult to tell which is the true version of things. We can only speculate.
Yeah, definitely. So in the next, I think we can have another episode of this conversation because there's many more questions I have.
Yeah.
But also you're going to be presenting a series of short videos, maybe like 4 or 5 minutes, each one detailing a small section of one of the songs and some of the video presentation of the actual movements and application and so on. So I just would like the viewers to know that that's coming in the next few weeks as well. So that's quite exciting that you will be able to visually show a little bit of what is in the book. And also just to remind people, if they'd like to get hold of a copy of your book on the Ma Gui Baguazhang songs and commentary, then they just go to lineofintent.com and they will very easily find the link on there. But Tin Gim, I'd like to thank you for today. That's already packed with very interesting information. And also we need to talk about some other side of your life, which is the, you know, we could say the political side, your activities against the oppression and so on. But I think we'll leave that for the next time, because I'd like to really go in depth about it rather than just a few minutes. So thank you very much. And
thank you very much.
We shall join you again in hopefully the next week or so.
Yeah, I'm more than happy to. And I have to warn you guys in advance that we don't have any fancy movements, fortunately. So our video might not be very exciting. And most of our movements are really just piercing palm, which is just a straightforward thrust. So
that's normally a good sign when it's not too fancy or flowery. I know you've had a lot of experience with big battles, let's say, like that, but we'll get into that next time. So thanks so much, Tin Gim, and we shall take a break there. And please, everybody, tune back in for the next episode with Tin Gim and myself discussing more topics and about the situation in Hong Kong.
Yeah, thank you for